Yes, indeed. New York City, around the world. It's the Mix King, Ron G. On the line right now is my main man, Bumpy Knuckles, a.k.a. Freddie Fox. What's good, fam?
Peace, man. What's good, Ron? How you feeling, man?
I'm chilling. Long time no see or speak. You know, it's good to speak to you right now. I ain't seen you in a minute.
Yeah, man. It's been a minute, though. I think the last time I ran into you was running New York City with the mixtapes and all that.
Yeah, man. You know what I mean? I'm just running around, still running things, but just running around. You know what I mean? And
I heard you got the cyber world on lockdown now.
I've been seeing you've been doing a lot of big things as well. You know, we had the same lawyer at one time. I don't know if you still work with Norman, but I remember Norman used to always say, "Ron, you got to hook up. You got to hook up."
Yeah, Norman. We ride motorcycles together. Norman is my man, dog. He always talked about you good too. Yeah, no doubt. That's right. You had Norman as attorney. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. So I wanted to reach out to you, man. I wanted to just kind of like let some of the fans know what been going on with my man Bumpy Knuckles. You know what I'm saying? Because you definitely put in a lot of work for many, many years. You know, I used to run into you back in the days when you used to be running with the Flavor Unit. You know, you also controlled a lot of shit in New York yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely an honor to get you on my show. You know, to let the fans know what it is with Bumpy Knuckles, man. Definitely a good look. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, what inspired you to be in hip hop when you first started?
Well, when I was doing, like backyard parties, and I had a crew. I was in a crew, and I was trained as an MC, following behind the Cold Crush and all those guys like that. You know what I mean? And when I started MCing at backyard parties, it was like nobody knew our rhymes. It was like we just had to be able to keep the attention of the audience that was at the party and rock the party without, having a hit record or any record at that time. When I heard Run DMC come out with Rock Box and King of Rock, it was a goal for me. I didn't plan on doing it as a career until I seen that, you could do it and experiment with, like when I seen them experiment with rock guitar and stuff like that, it was cool to me. Like I had heard Rapper's Delight and I'd heard, all of the Cold Crush stuff, and all of that stuff was always inspirational to me. But once I heard that you could take it to any different level and still be considered hip-hop, that's what really made me feel like I wanted to do it as a career.
You definitely inspired a lot of us in the hip-hop game, and you're still doing it in a real big way. What year did you first land your record deal?
Well, I had a couple of deals. My first deal ever was in the 80s. I was on Zakia Records. And I don't know if you remember, it was me. It was King's son was on that label.
Yeah, I remember that.
Being Rakim. Yeah, Zakia. I was on Zakia in the 80s. It was like, and then, after the Zakia situation, which was done through a guy in a couple guys in Queens called Ulti Fresh Productions. I signed with them guys years. That was my first dad into the music business. And then, Eric B signed me to MCA. After that, in 89, 90, I was that did Freddie Fox's Here. And that deal was really basically, it was, and a lot of cats won't admit it, but that deal was only done just to keep Eric and Rod happy. It was really Eric who put the deal together. That deal was done to keep Eric satisfied and happy with, his current situation, because they had hit records. So what I did was, I utilized that to my advantage, and I just wanted them to be able to put my music out there, and I wanted to have my name. That's all I cared about. I didn't care if I had a record or none of that. I really just tried to give them. Once I seen what it was, I knew they wasn't going to put no promotion into it. I just wanted to utilize it for what I needed to do. And then I had a wake-up call about independence when I started to see, wow, they're giving people 15 cents on their own dollar. Like, how do you take my dollar and give me 15 cents of my own dollar? And it just didn't make sense to me. So, that was the beginning of my independent journey.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, because, a lot of us didn't know where you were originally from. Where are you originally from?
Originally, I was born in Long Island, and then I moved out to Queens. I had a lot of relatives in different boroughs that I stayed summers with here and there. But, originally I was born and raised in Long Island.
How do you feel about hip-hop right now?
You know what, Ron? I notice a lot of cats complain about the game. But, what the thing is, man, everything is subject to change. And I believe that if the guys from the era that we come from, really would focus on going to the studio and staying creative and keeping the game, what they do in the game fruitful, then, the game is different. It's definitely different. I think the sounds are thinner. I think the sound of hip hop or rap music now is thinner. I think hip hop is still alive and well. It still sounds the way it always sounded. It's just different guys doing it in a different way. And with all them bringing out all these new software synthesizers and technical things that changing the way it sounds. We were using straight up analog MPC 60s and SP 1200s, and that sound was different. What we created the music on was different. Now these guys are using a lot of computerized noises and recreated sounds. It's making the music sound different, and I think there's a little less passion in actual work because there's a lot of copycat stuff going on, a lot of mimicking. Like, people want to be Jay-Z, so they take Jay-Z's whole swagger style and try to imitate that and do what Jay-Z is doing instead of maybe trying to come up with something original. So I think there's flaws to it, and then there's pluses to it. But guys that come from our era should continue to make music. I don't think they should be pigeonholed into not making music because somebody told them they not good enough.
Yeah, so that's definitely some good things to know, because a lot of I know that because I come from. I might not go as far back as you, but I definitely noticed the change in the hip hop quality, the sound. And I had the MPC 62 and I had the SP 1200 myself, and those sounds were more, like you said, analog. And the sounds are more hip hop feeling. Now it's kind of like everything is like R&B or Fruit Loop sounding, because they got like you said, they got these programs now, it's Fruit Loops, all these these little programs they're coming out with, which is changing the quality sound of hip hop today. One of the things I did notice is that you worked with many artists. Like, one of my favorite songs is that song "Get Through" with Tupac. Tupac was a friend of mine as well, and that song right there is really like one of the songs that I really listen to a lot. And a lot of people don't really know about that. I also seen that on your MySpace. I don't know if you run your own MySpace, but I see you work with so many artists, from MOP to Premier, to so many artists. How was you able to hook up with Tupac and Nas and MOP and all those, and Premier and those artists such of that status?
What happened? I guess, you run into these guys, and we all, just like you and I, we all have a mutual respect for each other based on the fact that we are in the same business and we are in the same circles. And then when you run across these cats and you realize, wow, this is one of my favorite DJs, this is one of my favorite rappers, and then conversation starts, the communication pipeline opens up, and then you start to discover that you guys have an ability to work on the same, on the same level, on the same plane. So Premier approached me years ago about doing the OC album, and when I did the OC album, then that trickled down into doing, the Militia and other songs like that, and working with MOP and stuff like that. So those things trickle down from dealing with, one thing opens up a door for others. And then the Tupac situation was like when I was on Flavor Unit, me and Pac just happened to run into each other. It was always about mutual respect. I had never met him before. He had never met me before. But then, we became friends based on the fact that, when we seen each other, it was like, yo, I like your work. He was like, yo, that's Freddie Fox. He knew who I was. I knew who he was. And then we ended up doing a song together. And it was like, it's just people, just same with Tretch, working with Tretch and guys like that. It's just really about respecting what we do as an artist, and then kind of putting that together to try to come up with something that other people they are not doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's definitely a true story. I get that a lot of times. Also, a lot of people say, "Yo, G, man, because of you, man, I was able to do this." So I definitely understand where you're coming from, and that's good things.